in your time here, a lot of people credit you as being the best question asker in Memphis media, whether it's at a scrum or whatever, on the news, whatever you're doing. Everyone says that Clayton Collier asks such great questions. Let me ask you this, Clayton Collier. When you're getting your thoughts together, do you come in with your swag, your confidence, like these country bumpkins? Let me go ahead and show these folks how to ask questions, or it's just something that just comes out natural, man? Are you intentionally saying, okay, let me come in with a bomb ass question for these folks, or do I?
No.
But you've heard those kind of compliments before.
Yeah, it's very nice of people to say as well, and you ask great questions.
Oh, thank you, brother. Thank you.
But no, like I said earlier, I try to put myself in somebody else's perspective the best I can with anything. When it's like doing a story on somebody or trying to rationalize, like, how did this situation happen? Whether it's a Michael Orr or John Morant, everything with all these instances, like trying to see everything from a lot of different sides. So when I go into something, it can be simple as like, just an injury or a new guy showing up and everything. I try to think about that and think what they might, be, like I said, be thinking about that's outside of the 5 to 10 canned answers that somebody's handed them to say if they can't think of someone to say with a question, or somebody asks a question they really don't understand, so they just give them that canned answer so they can move on. My goal is to try to make somebody think and maybe think about something that hasn't been asked before. So if I've accomplished that and I get a good answer, then I feel like I did my job. I also know that there's like a list of, 5 to 10 questions or so that we've got to ask. Right. Like the collective group of us is asked. So I have my question or two there in my head of like what I want to ask, but I got to make sure that, everything else does. So I kind of wait a while and just see if the obvious gets asked. And then, if we got time, I'll throw something in that might be a little off the wall. And sometimes I get somebody looking at me like, what the heck are you talking about? Right. And I was like, okay, well then probably I went too deep down the rabbit hole in my own head. Yeah. So yeah.
So you ain't stunned. It's just being real. It's just being you.
Yeah. I just try to think about, if I'm asking you a question or something, how was your day and the things that were going on in your day, and maybe how's that leading to where you are now? Yeah.
Because see, that's why we love you, man. You keep it real. This is Memphis, man. Hey, what I say in that press conference to John Morant, his rookie year, his introductory joint, if you love Memphis, Memphis will love you back. Bro.
That's right.
And you keep it real, and we keep it real with you, man.
Anthony, I have a question for Clayton before he gets out of here. We've the voice of I've been called Anthony's white conscience on this. On this
Anthony, don't say it,
Anthony.
You know how they're gonna respond.
Don't say that, Anthony.
Think about the other side of the Michael Orr situation. There ain't no other side.
There ain't no other side.
When this turned into a Dave Chappelle skit.
I have a question for you. It's interesting, man. Like, you've been around media over really across the country and been involved in a lot of it. You've been here for 6 years. One of the things that I've known about you being able to work alongside you, most of the time our cameras are sitting next to each other when we're at availabilities and things like that, is you kind of stay out of the fray a lot. You know how dirty and nasty media business can be. What would you say, like, as you're leaving and you're kind of looking over the landscape of Memphis media and how media members are covering the sports teams here, what would you say, like, piece of advice, or how could Memphis media be better?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's a really good question. He's the one that asked really.
Yeah, man. That's a hell of a question to the question asker, man.
I'd say don't be afraid to ask the tough questions. I think sometimes, like in Memphis, and I get why. Like, I'm from New York, so there's like 8 different teams. So like no part of those teams are just New York or like, anything like that. Like the Grizzlies are Memphis, like the Tigers are Memphis. So I think sometimes we do misconstrue like pointed criticism as like hate towards the team and by extension Memphis, which I get, because Memphis is unfairly attacked in a lot of ways all the time. But that doesn't mean that, it's above somebody asking, a fair criticism or something like, about strategy or this, that. Obviously be prepared to defend it. But I think sometimes that would be what I would say, is maybe don't be afraid to ask, thought-provoking or, maybe somewhat digging of a question sometimes, as long as it's respectful and it's, appropriate in the setting. But that's probably what I would say.
Yeah.